Do, 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 do. Hey. Oh yes, we got chocolate. Hi Lynn. Hi Alicia. That's cool. Hey Zoya. What is... Oh, where are the settings for the room? Content. I don't know. Everything's cool. Right, would anyone like to debate the seal of prophethood that Muhammad had on his back? See, Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, the so-called final messenger of God, supposedly had a miraculous seal of prophethood on his back. Oh look, my brain's rumbling. So I want to challenge this idea or this claim. I'm going to challenge it with my own seal. Because like the Prophet Muhammad did, I too have a seal of prophethood. But mine is placed where I can see it, whereas Muhammad's was placed where he couldn't see it. So the Prophet Muhammad wasn't able to see his own seal of prophethood, was he? Which is a shame, isn't it? Such a shame. I feel quite sorry for Muhammad not being able to see his own seal of prophethood that God gave him, since it was a revelation, a miraculous one. Because I quite enjoy seeing my seal that God gave me through the power of the Holy Spirit. And I just wonder why Muhammad never got to see his. Because apparently, according to Islam, revelations first are seen by the messenger. So I doubt very much that his seal of prophethood was from God, and I would suggest that it was actually a made-up, fabricated lie from the Muslims. So even from the get-go, they were lying about him being sealed by God, because he was only about 15, and he didn't start to get his revelations until he was 40, did he? That Prophet Muhammad, that supposedly had a hairy mole on his back, and the Sahaba called it a seal of prophethood. Oh, I would say that they abused his name and Allah's. That's blasphemy, isn't it? So the Sahaba back in the day committed blasphemy against a man that they would future use as a prophet. How tediously immature. Very immature, isn't it? Quite immature. Very immature. Very childish. Very, very insincere. Very insincere, isn't it? To lie about prophets. To claim they have something when they didn't. Very childish, ungrown up, immature, deceitful, lying, blasphemous. And yet the Muslims will go around telling people that they were telling the truth and that they didn't lie and that they didn't copy anything. Can't get any lower than that, can you? Quite low, isn't it? Snoop Dogg. So it's quite low of man to use their prophet's name to tell lies. They lied about a 15-year-old boy having a seal of prophethood on his back. The Prophet Muhammad. The Prophet Muhammad they lied about. When he was 15? I mean, how stupid do you think people are? Oh, well, they were gullible and naive, weren't they, I guess, back in the day? Just like they are today, like the youth were gullible and they'll believe anything that they're told. Anything to make them feel special, like they, you know, they own something that other people perhaps don't. Or when push comes to shove, they're still ignorant. And unfortunately, there are adults that are taking advantage of that, aren't there? And you're not doing enough about it. You're allowing it to happen. Isn't that right? Huh? You don't seem to take this very seriously after all, do you? So more for you. Anyway, anybody want to debate the seal of prophethood on Muhammad's back? The hairy mole that was supposed to be a mark of prophethood. What a load of nonsense. Absolute load of nonsense. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. Huh? Are you going to tell a pretty story about the Sahaba? The Sahaba? Salman al-Farsi. Salman al-Farsi saw the still of prophet on Muhammad's back and wept and cried. Oh. Oh. What a load of nonsense. Just like your Alice Night journey's a load of nonsense. The Alice Night journey's a load of nonsense, isn't it? Muslim youth have been lied to about Isra Night journey. I mean, can anybody explain on what scale of immaturity would you classify an old man creeping around young people telling them that the Alice Night journey is true and happened? What level of pervertedness is that? Creepiness. That is creep beyond creep. Creepy men. Creepy Dawah men telling lies about Allah, about Muhammad. Creep beyond creep. Creepy people. Creep. So creepy, so sickening, so deceitful. It's just sick. It's absolutely sickening. And that you look up to these men as well. You think that they're something special. You're deluded, so deluded. Crazy people. Crazy people believing in this Muhammad guy having a seal of prophethood on his back. Crazy people. But then again, it's not really crazy to think he may have had one. But the fact is, he wasn't going to be the last person to have one, was he? Oh dear, so that means Muhammad isn't the final prophet of God after all. Alright, so this is kind of a religious debate. A religious debate TikTok live. I like to challenge the Muslims on Muhammad being the last messenger of God, which I know he isn't. And I can prove that he isn't. Now, if anyone today can prove that Muhammad is not the final messenger of God, how much money do you think that they're worth? How much do you think that alone is worth to be able to prove that something in the scheme of prophets is either true or not true when it comes down to revelations and prophecies? How much money is at stake? So should we talk about blasphemy fines for blaspheming? No, we've got flash goal. Should we talk about blasphemy fines for blaspheming on Allah's name if it can be proven that Muhammad is not the final messenger of God? Do you think we could do that? Do you think we can settle some score money here? Huh? How much is that worth? I would say it goes into its double-digit millions. Huh? So how much do you really care? Because you don't seem to care that people are dying about it and over it. Christians are dying. People that believe in the Trinity are dying at the hands of Muslims because their book teaches the Trinity isn't true. Huh? Suddenly all gone quiet. All gone quiet now. All suddenly going quiet. Because now it's really coming to light just how serious this is. And you all allowed it to happen. What a sorry, sorry, sad bunch of people. Such a sorry, sad bunch of manipulative, egotistical, narcissistic, religious people that lie. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Filling their head with ego, and there's no truth to it whatsoever. That is a mental illness. An absolute mental illness. That is a mental illness. But they don't see it. You don't see it. You don't see how mentally unwell that some of yous are. That you sit online preaching stuff that you don't even know is 100% true, but claim that it is. But where did you go to school? What kind of education did you have? What programs did you watch growing up? Oh, that's right. Some of you weren't allowed to watch any programs, were you? Because you were too busy having to memorize the Quran that you were told was from God, when it wasn't. That is a mental illness. Because anyone can memorize anything if they read it enough. It doesn't mean to say that there's truth in it, partially, or where the book came from. Because anyone can write anything in a book, can't they? At the end of the day, the book isn't proof. It's the content which is the proof. And what that content is and how that content came about. So it's unfortunate, isn't it? I have these glasses. These are me. These are very me. Great glasses. Oh, this is great. Oh, we've got left 14 minutes or 13 minutes. I want to try and get this 30-minute go live thing. What's the playback? Oh yeah. to try that another time. Actually, it's too much. So, let's go to. Does anybody else think that Muhammad is the final prophet of God, the final messenger? Anybody believe that the Quran is the infallible word of God? Because I don't, for sure. I know it isn't. So why is it that some people are smart enough to know that it isn't, and then other people are not smart enough to know that it is? Is it because they've been indoctrinated to believe that it is? They believe everything that they're told. At what point in your life do you stop believing everything that you're told and think for yourselves? Or is that not allowed in your religion when you're growing up? You're not allowed to question things. Because that's called indoctrination, isn't it? That's something that could be classed as child abuse. Indoctrinating a kid. It's a form of child abuse, you know that. You do realise that, don't you? Did you realise that? Do you know that? Indoctrinating a child to believe in lies is a sort of child abuse. Well, you didn't think that, right? I didn't think about that, I guess. Didn't think about that, no. Oh dear. You're being in for a bit of a shock, aren't you? See, especially when you're talking about God, indoctrinating people with stories which are not completely true is a form of child abuse, mentally damaging as they get older. Didn't think about that. Maybe you should have thought about that. Oh dear. So, is anybody here guilty of child abuse or youth abuse, mentally deceiving the youth regarding their book called the Quran? teaching that it's the infallible word of God when it isn't. Who's guilty of doing that? Put a 1 in the chat if you're guilty of doing that, lying to people. Are you brave enough? Be brave. Come on, type a 1. Well, you're not brave enough. You know, there's a punishment in the Quran which says that those that lie on Allah's name are going to suffer humiliation in the afterlife. That's your punishment in the grave. And it will be your punishment in the grave. Why? Because you would not have repented for doing so in this life. So if you're going to take anything from your Quran, take that as a warning. Because that is something that many of you Muslims online are doing. You didn't think about that, did you? Because you're so full of your ego. You didn't think to use your own brains to figure out whether you were being lied to or not, or manipulated. Being set up by your own elder people to not be able to know the difference between truth and fable. Being taken off to little, Saturday school to be taught stories that aren't true. Oh, well, it's the night journey, we're so proud of it. But you were never taught that it was stolen from the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. You were lied to by teachers, by adults that lied to you. Your own Islamic teachers lied to you. And you wonder why people laugh at your, where your religion came from. And then you have the cheek to tell people that they're Islamophobic. You have the cheek to tell people they're Islamophobic when it was your own teachers that were lying to you. Your imams were lying to you. And you have the cheek to tell people that are smarter, that are trying to warn you that they're Islamophobic. How dare you? You are disgraceful and shameful. And you want to talk about akhlaq. And you don't see what's wrong with your own attitude. But you want to point the finger at other people. Oh, the Trinity is not true because the Quran says it. Oh, the Trinity isn't true. Have you listened to yourselves crying online that the Trinity isn't true? The Trinity is in Islam. But you didn't think about that either, did you? And the Trinity started with Muhammad when he was 15 because he supposedly had a seal of prophethood on his back, didn't he? Didn't think about that, did you? Imam didn't think about that one. Uh-oh. Imam messed up there, didn't he? Because he's too busy trying to train you and indoctrinate you for when you're older. Whose fault is that? No one else's. Only your Imam's fault. Hello, Mr. Hassan. It was your Imam's fault, wasn't it, that did that? No one else's. You've only got your Imam to blame. Don't go blaming everyone else. And stop calling people Islamophobic. Stop coming online with your lies and then calling other people Islamophobic. You're being weak. Not our fault you've been lied to, is it? Whose fault is it that you lied to? How much does your household parents pay for you to go to this Saturday school to get lied to? And how much of that comes from welfare money, I wonder? How much welfare money is going on to sending kids to a Saturday school to get lied to by the imams? And they're getting their wages doing that, funnily enough. So they get paid by the state to lie to kids in the name of religion, in the name of Allah, and that money comes from the government to pay the wages of the imams. Is it? Is that right? Is it? Hmm. Something's got not quite right there, is it? Something's very wrong with that, I would say. Because there ain't no truth. The Quran is not from God, is it? Doesn't matter how many times you come online and say the Quran is from God, it isn't. And you know it isn't. So why would you waste your time coming online saying it is when it isn't? Because you are trying. Oh, love bomb people. Oh, we're going to love bomb people. We're going to tell them the Quran is. Oh yeah, the Quran is from God. Well, guess what? My seal is from God. My Holy Spirit sign is from God. That makes me a messenger after Muhammad. So that means that your Quran isn't completely 100% factual, doesn't it? Because I have a seal of prophethood. And I am here, living, speaking on TikTok. Muhammad isn't. I am. So I guess your Quran isn't from God, is it? Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh whoop. Oh whoop. Uh-oh. The Quran is not from God. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Somebody's in a bit of a pickle now, aren't they? Because for every time you say the Trinity isn't true, and for every time you say Muhammad is the final messenger, and for every time you say that Allah wrote the Quran, you are lying, you are committing blasphemy on 3 counts. 3 counts, you are committing blasphemy. And that's just 3 counts. Al-Aqsa story isn't true, you are committing blasphemy. But you'll never hear a Muslim sit online and say that, will you? And this is how they've been indoctrinated. Indoctrinated at the expense of the British government, handing out the welfare money to send the kids to the school to get them to teach them these lies. And then when they hit their puberty years and they start facing people that challenge them, they start claiming Islamophobia. So I would say, right, that is a pre-nurturing of mental abuse that you are setting up your own children for, and you have no shame. You have no shame in doing so. That is pitiful. That is a pitiful religious ideology. Absolute shameful, pitiful. It's disgusting. But is it disgusting? I mean, it's not. At the end of the day, it's just a belief, isn't it? It's just an idea. It's a belief. There's nothing wrong in having ideas. But when you claim something is from God and then you have people go and kill people over it, that's when it's disgusting. And that is exactly what's happening today, isn't it? People are being killed for believing in the Trinity, you disgusting people. You vile, cretinous people. Vile, cretinous, deceitful people. So you know what's going to happen, don't you? You are going to lose, not at my hands, but at God's, because God hasn't chosen you, hasn't favoured you. And that is why your Quran has flaws in it, has errors, because God has made it so. You don't feel so good now, don't feel so big now, do you? Huh? You're not going to feel so big. All the damage that's been done, all your imams thinking that they are so great, lying, you lying people. Oh well, not going to look very good, is it? It's not going to look very good for you at all, really. You have no shame. You still go online each and every day. You use the women to sit online and preach lies. Shame on you. Absolute shame. You're going to look very stupid in the end, aren't you, really? But, well, I guess you don't care. You know you don't care because you keep on doing it. You keep lying to people. You're never going to stop, are you? You're going to keep being deceitful. You're going to keep using that welfare money to send your kids off to little school to be told lies to. What happened to the mentioning of the 12th wife of Muhammad, Maria the Copt? How old was Muhammad? 56? Was he 58? How old was she? 16 or 20? The 12th wife of Muhammad, not listed as one of the pure wives either. Prophet Muhammad, 58. 18. 40-year difference. 12th wife. And how many other wives did he have at the same time as her that were aged 17 and 34? He already had about 4 or 5 wives at the same time. Were they not enough, were they? Muhammad didn't have enough wives, did he? Dear me. Damn. God damn. Right, how long have I been? Who's this? I've got a live for 40 minutes. Why do imams lie so much? I thought they were supposed to be holy men. How can they not? How can they not realise? I mean, how could you, at an age of 50, continue to tell the story of Al-Aqsa being a true story when it isn't? At what point, does a man grow up within the Islamic religion? At what point do they become mature? That they start telling the truth? Because they don't tell the truth, do they? It's a religion of, a lot of lying people, lying men. Such a shame. Lying about the Trinity, lying about Al-Aqsa. What else did they lie about? Lying about Muhammad being the final messenger and God. They spend their whole day lying on certain stories. It's ridiculous. So immature. So ungrown up. So childish. So arrogant. So worrying and concerning. It's a mental abuse that the system allows to happen. A mental abuse that is allowed to happen on the name of the Prophet. And these men carry no shame. And they're allowed to get away with it. They're allowed to do it. No shame whatsoever. It's quite appalling, isn't it? It's disgusting. But we live in a society where this happens. Where this is what men get up for in the morning whilst other men are going out. Real men are going out to do a hard day's graft. It's quite shameful. Cool. Right, I'm going to go to the picture.